Good morning, everybody. My name is Kevin Wood. I'm talking to you today from Long Island, New York. My role is the parking administrator for the village of Port Jefferson. I'm so thankful and glad to see us going forward with a professional development series and seminar. I think it's good for those of you that are attending, and I think it's good for us that need to stay in the game here as we go through one of the most challenging years that any of us has ever experienced. It's our intention today to really go forward in that realm and keep it positive and really review things, but mostly look forward and talk to the professionals that you'll be hearing from and how they are really honestly being more efficient with what they're doing, techniques, doing more with less, leadership styles, and items like that. So today is day 1 of 2. This session will run from 10 a.m. to noon, and then tomorrow I believe it's 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. We want to thank our sponsors at this time, Park Mobile and ComSonics. That also keeps the ball moving forward. So welcome all panelists. I want to say hello to Jason, our president of New York State Parking Transportation, who will be with us today and answering questions related to our fine organization. I understand we have a sponsor that'd like to say a few words. Am I correct?
That is correct. And I will share my screen with everybody. Just give me a second here.
So this is Lex Blum from Park Mobile. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Kevin. Hold on. Let's get this right screen up here. Okay, there we go. Good morning, everybody. My name is Lex Blum, and I am with Park Mobile. I'm Northeast Regional Sales Manager, so I oversee all new sales in the Northeast region, New York being part of that. And today I'm just going to talk a little bit about Park Mobile and our smart contactless parking solution. So Park Mobile's mission is to power smart mobility for every driver and vehicle everywhere. And we do this by creating innovative solutions that connect parking and mobility ecosystems, thereby eliminating friction and maximizing convenience and efficiency. And just to give you a little background about myself, I've been in the parking industry for the last 4 years, helping municipalities, universities, and private operators digitize the parking assets to help give consumers a seamless way to find and pay for parking. One of the things I love most about my job is being able to help drivers across the nation make their daily parking experience just a little bit easier. And I'm honored to also be part of the New York State Parking and Transportation Association board that I sit on with a couple other folks on this panel discussion today. So I'll give you a little background about Park Mobile. Park Mobile is the largest mobile parking payment platform in the U.S. with a consumer base of over 20 million users and over 50 municipal, university, and airport deployments to date. We work with 41 of the top 100 cities in the U.S. and are ranked number 3 in the navigation category of the App Store behind Google Maps and Waze. We're adopted by 1 in over 13 U.S. drivers. And what's great about that is that users who have our app on their phone tend to use it as they travel from market to market. And we've seen over 25% of users who have the app engage with us in not just one market, but several. Talk a little bit about the Park Mobile network. Our network connects drivers to the largest network of mobility-related services in the U.S., including parking in over 400 cities and 85% of the top 100 metro areas in the U.S. Cities such as New York City, where I currently work out of and reside, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Los Angeles, Denver, Pittsburgh, Newark, New Jersey. The list really goes on. And as stated before, what's great about the Park Mobile app is that users can use it as they travel from east to west and north to south. In the New York region, we have a large presence of deployments, both on the municipal side, on the university side, and on the private operator side. So clients such as New York City, Patchogue, Croton-on-Hudson, Cornwall-Hudson, Yonkers, Elmsford, Nyack. We work with a couple of the SUNY schools, such as SUNY Buffalo, SUNY Brockport, Cornell, and then some of the private operators like All Pro Parking, SB Plus, PF Parking, MTP Parking. The list really goes on. And what's great about having a wide variety of clientele base is that, we're not only used for, say, on-street parking, but you can also use us for off-street parking, transit-oriented parking, valet services, whatever the case may be. Park Mobile has a solution for that. And, I stated, Park Mobile's complete parking app. We deliver the most innovative and efficient feature-rich auto-related smart mobility platform in the industry. And there are a lot of challenges that the parking industry is facing today. And our mission is to help give those who manage these operations the technological tools to aid efficiency. Our mobile application allows consumers to pay for parking in a variety of ways, from zone parking solutions, such as on-street or metered parking, to prepaid reservations for venues, concerts, and game days. We are working to create innovation in an industry that has historically been slow to adapt to new advancements in technology. And by connecting parking and mobility ecosystems, we can eliminate friction and maximize convenience and efficiency. So Park Mobile 360 is a centralized platform for all your data and information for your parking technologies that can be stored in one place. And from our first deployment in 2009, we've been listening to our clients' needs and have been developing solutions with them in mind. The Park Mobile 360 platform allows our clients to manage their operation from one centralized location by bringing together all the different technologies used to run a parking operation. This system allows clients to manage rates and policies in real time, and then push that information out to all the technology providers that they're using. Reporting gets a whole lot easier as well. The Park Mobile 360 platform allows administrators to query data that they need to look at for their specific operation. You can set customized reports to be sent out on a schedule and download these reports in a digestible infographic, making it a little easier to understand than, say, just a CSV or an Excel sheet. And I've got a video to share with you, and I am hoping that the sound will work. So let me know if the sound works. Just someone give me a yay.
This is Josh. Josh runs the parking operation in his city. In the past few years, Josh has seen a lot of new technologies on the market. High-tech meters, parking apps, gates, sensors, enforcement tools, and much more. Josh is very excited to introduce many of these new technologies in his city to improve and modernize his parking program. He might even win one of those cool innovation awards at the next big industry conference. But what Josh doesn't realize is that all of these new technologies are not connected, so you end up having to use each one separately. And that could lead to some major headaches. For example, if Josh needs to update his parking rates, he has to do it in each individual system. So if he makes a simple mistake in one system, his parking meter could have a different rate than his parking app, creating confusion and frustration for the people who just want to pay to park. Josh also has no way to prevent a user from staying longer than the maximum time allowed, because they can first pay on the parking app, then at the meter, then back to the app. Without a centralized system to track it all, you can't stop people from finding the loopholes. And when it comes time to look at the data, Josh has to jump from system to system, downloading a bunch of different reports and then manually putting it all together in a spreadsheet. This makes it super hard and time-consuming to track his results. It all just seems impossible to manage. Until now. Introducing Park Mobile 360, the single platform to power your entire parking operation. With Park Mobile 360, Josh can manage all of his parking technologies in one place, with an easy-to-use centralized platform. Park Mobile 360 lets Josh set parking rates and policies, then push all that information out to his meters, apps, and other technologies in real time. Park Mobile 360 shows Josh what vehicles have paid for parking, no matter what method they used, meter or app. So Josh and his enforcement team can prevent people from cheating the system and staying longer than the maximum time allowed. And Park Mobile 360 consolidates all the data across different technologies, giving Josh a single view of his operation and making it easy to track results. So, if you're like Josh and you're struggling to figure out all the parking technology out there, it's time to bring it all together with Park Mobile 360, a smarter way to run your parking operation. To get a demo, visit us at parkmobile.io/demo or email us at demo@parkmobile.io.
Oh.
This is Josh.
So we've got a couple of municipal clients who are using this, such as Joseph Fazio, the technology and system manager at the University of South Florida. And he said that the new reporting in Park Mobile 360 really gives us a better idea, a way to track our performance. The visual dashboards allow us to quickly identify trends in our business, making it easy to see how we are doing. and other clients utilizing the platform in its entirety today to consolidate reporting. Policies and rates include Fresno, Clearwater, Orlando, Florida, and the Chattanooga Parking Authority. So why work with Park Mobile? We have the largest network, both by a user standpoint and a municipal standpoint across the both region and the nation. Our network is open, meaning you can use us whether you be in New York, LA, Florida, Texas, wherever Park Mobile is deployed, you can use one single app for your parking needs. Our platform, which we just show you that video on, the Park Mobile 360 platform, consolidates, giving clients one centralized platform to use. And then we've got a superior feature-rich mobile app experience with a native map feature that really makes it easy to find and pay for parking. And our execution. We've been around for the last decade. Most of our implementations team, the ones who are actually getting deployments up and running, have been with us for 10 plus years. They've done hundreds of deployments, both big and small. So they really have a unique understanding of how, what works best in whether it be a university client, a small municipality, a large city, a private operator. And these are the ones who really help also with the marketing at the launch and beyond. And then our ongoing success through account management. We've got our account management team. They're rock stars. They're there to help our clients with whatever they might need, whether it's changing rates, updating signage, giving them customized reports. They're really there to see that program succeed. Thank you, and feel free to reach out to me today. I believe most of the people on this call might probably have my email, but here it is again, lex.blum@parkmobile.io, and hopefully you found that informative. Thanks so much.
Lex, that was fantastic. We totally appreciate your commitment to your industry and your company, and you got prime time there. We started off with Lex Blum and Park Mobile. That was fantastic. Thank you again. So it's time to introduce our panelists, our really incredible panelists. I think we represent today 2 universities. I'll say 2.5 because Jason is going to be really representing us as president of the New York State Parking Association, but he has a wealth of experience at the University of Albany, and 2 municipalities, myself, Port Jefferson, small municipality, and Chrissy, probably equal in size, but much more volume. We'll get to that through our talks. So today we have, and you'll see them on your screen eventually, we have Chris Austin representing the University of Buffalo, past president of New York Parking, and board of director at IPMI. So that's a wealth of knowledge. Doug Grotke, and I hope I'm saying that correct. Good. Representing University of Rochester, medical center, project manager, a wealth of experience there. On my upper left, Chrissy Gilligan, deputy village clerk of Croton-on-the-Hudson. Just put your hand up there. That would be fantastic. And we have Jason Jones, our New York State Parking and Transportation President. Welcome, panelists. How are you? I guess at this point you can unmute and we will get right into it. Again, a going forward seminar series where we will focus on what I'm certainly going through, which is doing more with less, changing the style that we manage people and systems. That certainly happened. And you know what? I'll start with you, Chris Austin, and I'll ask you, how have things changed, possibly for the better, possibly for the worse? It's never fun to do more with less, but I'd like to hear from you on things that really have stood out this past year and the way you manage people and systems.
Sure. Thank you, Kevin. Glad to. And thank you, Jason, Dawn, the entire NYSPTA family. It's great to be with everyone this morning. I would say, from a leadership perspective, I found that I've had to put more time into the kind of social and emotional and psychological needs of my team than previous. Not deliberately or contrived at all, but kind of recognizing the uncertainty, especially early on, had everyone on edge, concerned about themselves, their families, their friends, their health, their jobs. So, as I reflect, I'd say shifting to more of a human relations and human resources paradigm is something that has kind of been a byproduct of these past 6 to 7 months. And it's been a very important one that will certainly continue as we move forward. I would say that paradigm also has led me to exhibit more supportive behaviors and communications, being empathetic and understanding, being a good listener, an attentive listener, and understanding individual concerns. And part of that too has been showing a bit more vulnerability on my own part. We often picture leaders as being strong, confident, and in command, which are of course great attributes, but being open, showing vulnerability, I think helps and has helped connect at that personal level. And especially in a situation like the pandemic where, something that, no one had been through in over 100 years, where no one has all the answers. I think that's been a byproduct of this kind of more of a focus on HR related functions than I typically would have had to in the past.
Gotcha. Good stuff. I'm going to go to Doug at this point. Doug, if you just give a 30-second what you do there first, and then answer that question as well in terms of how things have changed in leadership style for systems and people.
Sure. So thanks for having me, Kevin. I'm a project manager for the Department of Transportation and Parking here at the University of Rochester. It's a little unique setting, so we have the medical center and the college campus, but along with the medical center, that's probably our bread and butter. That's our busiest area. It comprises of Strong Memorial Hospital, Galatano Children's Hospital, Wilmot Cancer Center, all of the offsite locations, which include urgent cares. So we're in charge of all of that parking and roadways. So I'm physically in charge of all the technology for the department. I do have some staff that report to me that are technicians and dispatchers. So changing our role here in terms of how we're working with staff and the issues that are coming up, we're doing daily screenings, which thankfully have been electronic, so they have an app on their phone. They'll go in and do their daily screening and answer a couple questions. If they pass, great. If they fail, then they go for a COVID test and they're sent home until that test comes back. We know that's a challenge, so they're still getting paid while they're off waiting for that test result. And then once they come back, if they do pass that test, then they're good to come back. We have universal masking, wiping down workstations after each person works there. We stopped doing our valet program. So there is big challenges, but our staff are really working through it. They're doing a great job. But there is a concern every day that somebody comes to work that, is this going to be the start of the second round of the pandemic, or is it going to kind of smooth off from here?
Doug, how many spaces do you manage?
We're about 16,000.
That's a lot. Yeah, incredible. All right, let me jump over to Chrissy. Same question. Just introduce your role there at the Croton-on-Hudson and leadership style and things that have changed this year for you.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. You're welcome.
I am the parking operations manager as well as the deputy village clerk for the village. So I have a dual role here. The majority of my role is the parking operations manager. Things have definitely changed. We are a lot more proactive with the safety of our employees as well as our customers. Each day, people have to come in and answer a COVID screening test, and we have to attest that we haven't been exposed to anybody, we're not feeling ill, things like that. We have cleaning protocols now in place. So after each shift, the parking enforcement officers, shared space generally in the office, we have to wipe down. We have a cleaning schedule several times a day at the office. And as Chris said, I am definitely more empathetic now. What started out as, you're the boss and, try not to show any emotion. This has definitely changed for me.
Have you had to do more with less?
Oh, definitely. Reduce staff, reduce customers. Yes, I am juggling a lot more balls than I was before.
Has this pandemic and this situation you're in forced you to be more efficient on technology? And we'll get more into that later, but I just want to hear from you in terms of, because that in itself is a management system.
Quite honestly, we were pretty efficient prior to this.
Good.
We were well set up for something that of this situation. Being that we are a municipality, we already had an emergency plan in place should something happen. We always assumed it would be our building that might, happen, but we were set up with laptops at home, cell phones at home. We already had a plan in place for everything. So when this happened and our office initially shut down, I was immediately able to pick up and run the next day from home.
Good to
And
hear.
our customers did not see a blip at all.
Good to hear. Let me jump over to our president, Jason Jones. Welcome. How are you? I want to say this, leadership style, you've stepped up here. And I want to say that because, we have to keep going here. And normally we would have been meeting at some place and really getting together. And that always felt good every year. I think everybody can attest to that. And so you're charged with keeping the family together. So thank you. And so tell us in your own words, your leadership style, management style, how has that changed? Possibly on the university side as well.
Well, Kevin, thank you. And yes, it is a much different experience this year, not meeting in person. I think it's anybody that's on this call and certainly understands the position we're in New York State. We're doing very, very well in a majority of regions, and whether you agree or not with the policies, how we've been able to combat this and move forward has been excellent. It has inhibited other parts of life, and certainly our conference being one of them. So today we sit here and we try to have an open and honest discussion, and the challenges that we're faced with, even as up until last Friday, I had one staff member talk to me. She goes, Jason, she goes, I told my husband you looked defeated on Friday. And I said, geez, I've never heard that. And I think that's part of the empathetic part and the relatability to your staff members is that, I've been in parking, mass transit, and event management really for over 20 years now. And, we all know being in this industry, you got to have thick skin and, you take it a lot. But yeah, it's hard. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I have all the answers. And I'm not going to tell you that everything is going great, and this, when we come in, we're all employees one way or the other. So whether we have a leadership role or we're all employees, right? So we are peers in that instance. So I do try to relate. I do try to be definitely more gentle, and it's I'm very much used to having things, on a schedule, right? 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, plans. It's hard to do that right now. You're still moving forward. At the same time, things are changing on a daily basis. So it's hard to say, as far as the New York State Parking and Transportation Association is concerned, it's what puts me to sleep at night, right? Is folks like Lex or other people on his calls and their organizations that are willing to step up and support our association. One would imagine, a lot of our, association revenue is based on conferences and sponsorships and attendees of events. And, when 2020 has occurred now, we have not had any in-person events, right? So, managing that budget and, making sure that you stay in contact with everybody is great. And, people are stepping up to the plate, and it's quite honestly, our members have been more than willing. It's not even been a question. It's been very informal. Jason, we'd love to help you. We'd love to push forward. So it's great. University side, I think it's just been, again, one of those things that is kind of move forward. But if there's been moments where I've said, I'm leading this association right now in the middle of this, but there's greater other things. So I tell you, I am proud to lead the association during this time frame, and I'm going to make sure at the end of my second 2-year term next year in 2021, we're going to be in a great spot moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Chrissy, I want to go back to you, letting our audience know that you manage transportation and parking, which you told us, but in probably one of the most significant markets, 30 miles or less from New York City. So you had that constant commuter traffic, even though mine and your markets are exactly the same. We almost have no commuter traffic to New York City because we're an hour and a half out and we're just a village, seaside village. On the other hand, you have this incredible commuter traffic that has subsided. I remember talking to you 6 months ago, and I think it went down to like a scary almost nothing. I'm sure it's not there, but my specific question, and anybody else that wants to jump in after Chrissy, is let's be very honest, there's a loss of revenue there that's probably not too pretty. So I'm wondering how your village is dealing with that, either through a 5-year plan or possibly starting up other programs trying to make up for that revenue, be it events. And how does that play into your parking management?
First, what we did is we had already approved our fiscal year is June 1st through May 31st. So we had finalized this year's budget prior to COVID. It was just waiting to be adopted. So the first thing we did was go back to our budget and reassess everything, make some significant cutbacks. That'll help us through this year. Budget time starts again in December, so it will be interesting to see, how it's not just my department, it's all the departments have to chip in to help out with this deficiency that the parking revenue, the village depended upon to meet our requirements every year. So other departments will have to give back. In the meantime, we've gotten a little creative with some of our parking revenue. We have allowed the restaurants and businesses to bump out into parking spaces. And also, we are fortunate enough that my parking lot is on the Hudson River, and we have an Echo canoe launch area at the end of our parking lot. So we now charge for parking. People from the city, as well as, I was surprised, Connecticut, I've seen New Jersey, out-of-state plates were coming to our launch, and it was getting quite overwhelming. So we created a separate parking area, implemented a new rate system, and we were able to get back some revenue that we lost by getting creative with where the demand was, which happened to be this particular area of the lot. I mean, some days we had well over 100 cars there with people kayaking and canoeing.
So instantly you've become sort of a map of vacation possibilities on the map for that.
Yes, we have. I would go down and talk with people, and I was surprised at how far they've traveled to come.
Right. And so far that new revenue will be coming there, probably not replacing what we're talking about, but it's a step in the right direction.
But it is a step in the right direction, and we extended it now through October 31st because it's still quite popular. On a day like today, people are out there.
Good. Anybody else want to talk about, Lex, you have your hand up? If so, you can talk. But anybody else want to talk about making up for mass revenue loss or a little revenue loss in this time?
I'd be glad to from the university perspective, Kevin. So much of our budget is derived from student transportation fees. And so we did have to give back about $1.5 million, which equates to about 15% of our overall annual budget. So we did have to give that back in the spring semester. We did lose another several $100,000 in citation and meter revenue and paid parking revenue, and Park Mobile related pay by Sol revenue that we bring in. So, that loss it's revenue that there's no way to recover that. And so current and moving forward, we've been pleased that we did have to see through transportation during this semester at reduced passenger levels to maintain social distancing. So we did we were able to maintain our revenues on the transportation fee side for this semester, but similarly, that citation issuance revenue, when the capacity of your parking lots is down to about 25% of its usual. So collectively, we manage some 17,000 parking spaces across our 3 campuses. And that daily revenue or that citation revenue is just something that we won't be able to recover. But
right.
We make up for it in other ways through service reductions, through other mechanisms to help alleviate the strain.
Right. I'll say just for us, making up revenue, right? It's a very tough thing, right? That 2 of us have said some of that revenue is just out the door, never to be had again, and you do what you can. I think for the first time, we're looking at next year metering for the first time parts of streets, and that's going to be met with probably a little bit of negativity, but there's also a management reason for having that. So that's one of the things we're looking at to make up a little bit for the revenue lost. We can all talk about rate increases too, but what I heard from this first segment is more empathy. So we've got to be careful going that, and there's a balance there. And I think that's undetermined until 2021. Anybody else want to talk about loss of revenue?
Hey, Kev, I could jump in here. From a vendor standpoint, from a mobile payment standpoint, we work with several hundred municipalities, universities across the nation. So we've got unique insight into seeing what everyone's doing, what's working, what's not working. There's different challenges in different areas of the nation. One thing specific to New York that they did was they said, let's promote multiple apps. They said they had the Park NYC app for a couple of years, and then they actually opened up the network to the Park Mobile Core app. It's just saying, anyone who's got the app on their phone who's already coming in from, Croton or anywhere else, the suburbs outside of, the tri-state area can now use that app to help drive additional revenue and also curb transmission. In the beginning, we didn't know, how bad this virus was. Everyone was trying to get ahead of it. And NYC DOT had put out a statement that said, we're promoting drivers to use a contactless payment method instead of using a payment kiosk. And to that point, we're also seeing, some municipalities even go hardware light and starting to remove some of their hardware because it's expensive. It's not getting the usage it once was. There's not as many parkers, and they can essentially have a successful parking operation with going with a contactless app, or in many cases now multiple apps, right? There's this big wave of going towards multiple apps, give people the options to pay with which one they want. And that's great. And then on the university side, every university is different. There's some that have gone back to classes. There's some that have the, hybrid model, A and B days. And there's some who've gone completely remote. And then some of those universities that have gone to that hybrid model, we've seen them go from, permit solutions to now daily or transient solutions because the permit parkers just aren't there anymore. If you don't have students on campus full time and they're not attending classes, they're not going to buy that permit. And that drives revenue for them, right? So they've switched models to a transient or a daily pass as opposed to that semester permit.
Very good. Thanks, Lex. Anybody else, Jason, you want to talk about, even from the perspective of our organization? We have revenue loss, and we're thankful for our sponsors that have stepped up in a digital way lately, right? Do you want to talk about that and how we may go forward looking to make that up, if at all, or just, I guess, getting to 2021 is the whole big mantra for everybody, right?
Yeah, well, I look at our budget within the association over the next 5 years and how we're going to sustain, and we are going to be okay. But, a lot of this is predicated on, in-person events coming back. So, a lot of what we can plan for, to be realistic here, we have to a point or may not be looking to move forward with a spring and summer event for the association, but certainly next fall, we will like to return to an in-person event. So, with that model being said, we've also looked at creative ways to, again, do some sponsorships, do some website work. It's going very well. And, you talk about the different markets and, represented here, whether, Chrissy along the Metro North line or or Doug in the University of Rochester Medical Center. There's just ways of, again, the revenue's not going to come back, but it's how do we move forward and how do we, recover some of that, or at least stay afloat, and I apologize for not everybody on this call maybe knowing a sports reference, but there was a great basketball coach before. His name was Jim Valvano. He coached NC State. His big thing was survive and advance, and that's what we're doing right now in all of our industries. It's survive and advance. We just need to get to the next day, and we can't look back of what's occurred the last 7 or 8 months. It's just been brutal in so many different ways. But again, today, survive, tomorrow, advance, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Thank you, Jason. I'm going to go to Dawn just for a second. Dawn, if you could make an announcement for, we can queue up some questions for after our next segment.
Absolutely. We do have a Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. If you want to go ahead and type in your questions, those will go directly to Kevin and myself, and we can get those questions answered.
Excellent. Doug, did you want to chime in on what you might be, and you may or may not be directly responsible for revenue or making up revenue, but do you have any comments on that?
Sure. Yeah. So we know the revenue's gone, right? What we really have to think about is empathy, customer experience. So right when the pandemic started, everything shut down. Obviously, the hospital still needs to run, but there's a lot of support positions that were furloughed. Now, everything has started to come back. Everybody's off furlough, which is great. However, the hospital and university took a stance of which people do not need to come back and can work from home. Turns out that's a lot. I don't have that exact number, but we see the impact in our parking lots. We have a lot more spaces open than we used to. We used to struggle really hard for that. So we do not have that problem now, but we started thinking about our customers and their family and what they pay for parking. Some people are struggling with that, with the finances. So we created an initiative where we allowed the opportunity for them to get rid of their part-time or full-time permits if they're working from home. And if there's a situation that they ever have to come to the hospital or medical center, they can go on their phone, go on their website and purchase a daily permit. And then they can come in, they can purchase that in advance the same day. They can park in a lot for the day and they pay that fee instead of having to maintain a full-time permit.
Very good.
Hey, Kevin, if I could jump in there
Sure.
on a couple of things, and and I want to touch upon the positive here is telecommuting is more of an option than ever, right? And so we have a give and take, right? So obviously if we're telecommuting more, there's less traffic, there's less carbon emissions, so those things should be viewed, as positive. So we've lost some parking or daily parking, but we got to be nimble and recognize the benefits of this, whether it's the air pollution, water pollution, those types of things. It's much better. And we potentially have seen some of these images of what the cities look like pre and post, pre-COVID and current COVID, with the carbon emissions in a city or a large metropolitan area. So, those things, are very, very good, so it's finding ways to bring those things out. And hopefully this will facilitate us even more so as far as revenue generation, right? Clean energy, solar, whatever it might be. So, you could see this larger shift right now in those areas. So, and to a point, I believe that part of the parking industry's challenge or, inherent problem is that we rely on parking citation revenue, right? We shouldn't rely on parking citation revenue, although majority of us on this call or on the Zoom session do, and it's part of our budget, right? I mean, isn't the goal ultimately to issue 0 citations, right? To have better signage, to have better systems so people pay for parking, so there is available parking, they know where to go, right? So I understand that's not the reality situation. Certainly at a university, people will always get parking citations. I get that. But, the goal is to reduce citations, and we got to spin that to our budget, folks, of what we're trying to do. I'll give a small example. At the University of Albany, and I had a prior assignment at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. So I arrived at Albany about 6, 7 years ago. We were issuing about 15,000 citations a year. Last year, we issued just under 9,000 citations, right? So we've reduced citations significantly, 30, 40%. And how have we done that? Better messaging, better signage, focus groups, getting out there, meeting with the students in the campus community. And so when I go to my, bunch of folks and they look at me and they get mad at me because the revenues are going down, the meeting after that, I go to my sustainability folks and they're like, geez, Jason, you're doing a great job. Traffic's down, citations are down. I go to the student association meetings. They love us. When I first came here, people would be yelling in the lobby all the time. That simply is not the case anymore. And the message, and Doug touched upon this, the customer service element has to be more important than the compliance element. And those are things we need to do moving forward.
That's a fantastic point. I'll say ourselves, one of the ways we changed is, just to put it as succinctly as I can, we've been softer on enforcement, right? Part of the empathy game. We've increased everything you've talked about, signage, ease of use, all those types of things. And we've become softer on that because, listen, nobody wants to come to a village with the mask on, deal with what they have to deal with to eat a meal, and then, get a $30 citation for 50 cents worth of parking, right? So we have to find a way forward on that. And that's a great point. I do believe that efficient parking systems could make up a lot for citation revenue. That is going to be my focus for 2021. A couple of other changes that we made immediately, by the way, in transportation. Jason, as you know, we had a shuttle going from Stony Brook University to Port Jefferson, and it was a great idea, but I must applaud the fact that we pretty much stopped it immediately. Saving money and saving grief. And I'm sorry to see that go. We'll revisit that in 2021. The other change that we're able to concentrate now on more so than if we were in normal times is our new parking lot. First new parking lot in 50 years in our little village, which will have EV spaces built into it, and bioswales and some really cool green features to it. So again, those few changes that allow us to do a little more efficiency. Big changes in technology. We may hear from somebody that's in an IT capacity, maybe you, Doug, in terms of, cameras and what these cameras can do for efficiency and information. We're even having, through Grant, we're having LED lights changed in all of the village. And part of that is like flood indicators so that our DPW can get an advance warning of floods before physically seeing it. They'll see that through indicators. So there's some time now to get those things together. If anybody wants to comment on similar items, please do so.
Kevin, I would just kind of pivoting just a little bit and back to kind of the employee and leadership side of things. As far as development goes, that has been extremely important and wise use of our time for our team over these past several months, but also over the coming few months. So we've got 3 team members in the CPP program through NPA. I've got 1 in the pipeline for CAP designation. We've jointly done some reading on a guide to parking, which was published by IPMI in 2018 that has 19 chapters on pretty much everything industry specific. So a quick plug for IPMI and that publication. It really has had a lot of value for members of our team to get more of a broad overall view of our industry and really putting some time into study parking and mobility instead of doing it or doing your role. What other components make up what is a very complex and diverse skill set within and across our industry. So that's been a really good, or it has been a good opportunity and great use of time. I'd be interested to hear what others are doing with their teams with that respect. I know we've also taken in more webinars and industry discussions and Zooms and roundtables and all. They've been great. It's helped us stay connected. But I also challenged our team to really immerse themselves in topics and potential initiatives that they're instinctively interested and drawn to. So that coaching aspect and encouraging learning, training, and growth, I look for that to make us all the better an organization and industry when we come out on the other side of that. So sorry to pull it back, but I just wanted to.
No, we got to get out. Well, we got to get out.
Got
I
it.
want to read a few comments. I see one of our comments, and then I'll get to a question too. It's a good time to do this. Give our panel a small break. Just a comment from Jonna, who I believe might be available to comment even further on the panel, but she says, agree with our brilliant panel. And I should stop there. Thank you so much for that compliment. You guys are brilliant. I'm just making the roundhouse here. Options meeting the changing needs of consumers, softer approach, not a goal. To rely on citation revenues, but offer ways to improve compliance. And John, if you're coming in, give me a second. I do want to put a question out from Jim Frederick to Chrissy. I suspect you folks purchasing permits in advance of the pandemic, were you forced to provide refunds? A great question. Great question. We had instances where people expected refunds on the golf side of things. So that is a great question. Chrissy, did you have to do that?
We didn't have to, but we did. It was a show of good faith. We have, some of my customers have been with us for over 20 years, and I was already at budget at that point. So issuing the refund, I felt was what was best for our customers. It didn't put the village at any disadvantage because, again, that was our best fiscal year. And considering what was going on with the world, because we do sell in advance, those several months that we refunded meant a lot to our customers. And
I get a show of empathy.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
And we also did not implement a rate increase like we were supposed to starting June 1st. So we have really tried to take care of our people.
The higher road approach.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
All right, before we get to our last round of panelists, I'm going to go to you for a second, Dawn. Any Q&As that are unanswered?
Nope, you're good to go.
Good to go. Fantastic. Any comment from you, Mr. President? Before I go on to the last lightning round.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Couple of dozen, or at least 3 or 4 dozen attendees. We thank them. Again, our sponsors, Park Mobile, ComSonics, thank you for helping to sponsor what is day 1 of 2 of this professional seminar series. All right, so let's go around to each of the panelists, and really, we want to end on a great note, as I think this whole seminar has been so far. It's been a positive, upbeat experience. But going forward, positives that you've experienced in the last 2 months, not so much going back 7 months. And I'll start with you, Jason, just positive feelings, positive attributes of what you're doing day to day, both with your presidency of this particular organization and also your professional aspect at the University of Albany.
Oh, thanks, Kevin, for facilitating this session today. And as part of this, we talk about the seminar being the state is in your hands or our hands, right? And that's true. We're represented here by multiple sectors, private and public, and how do we continue to move forward is the most important part of this. As we go into the late fall, middle fall here and winter, what's it going to look like on the other side of this? We got holidays coming. I think there's just a lot of that, that personal and professional balance is needed more than ever. It's often been my stance that I'll immerse myself in the job, when I'm here, right? And, the personal is left on the side. That is no longer the case. And I think we have to be honest with ourselves. Many of us have either children in school or remotely learning. Many of us may take care of our parents or, elderly in any other way, right? So it doesn't stop, and although operationally here at the University of Albany, it's slower as far as parking lot capacities and bus capacities, but emergency management just has not stopped, and it's just contingency plan after contingency plan, and it's hard not to get complacent or beat down. And unfortunately, I do miss some of the parking inquiries or the complaints that there's not enough space. You know, that's a good sign, right? Your university or your place is packed. That's awesome, right? You know, so you can't complain about being full, you know, right now. And again, echoing some of Chris's comments, yeah, our parking lots are like 25% capacity. I can't wait for the day when we're back at 100% or people are circling around forever looking for a space. That's a great sign. You know, our campus center is dead. Our buses, even this semester, we you know, traditionally have like a lot of loop service around campus. We've actually shifted to an on-demand model during the day because of lack of passengers. So, you know, continue to be nimble, continue to learn. I'm actually working with my assistant director, and she's teaching me her job, the things that she does, because I have a little bit, not extra time, but I want to learn. And I want to see, you know, it was always my stance, you know, my job is maybe not necessarily to know your job, but I got to make sure you know it, right? And I can't drive a bus. So I don't have a CDL. I can't process a parking permit, right? You know, I'll never be as good as the front desk as my associates would be. I'll never be as good as driving a bus as my bus drivers. But you know what? I can learn how they do it, and I can immerse myself even more so right now as operational time allows. So I think that's a great positive. Things that I'm looking to do, you know, I'm getting involved in our campus master plan. So really branching out, trying to learn some new things, man, and not saying, you know, stale. I actually was going to give a presentation last March or April at NEPC conference. I talked about, you know, the cookie cutter approach not becoming stale, right? The fresh cookie and the stale cookie. You know, the stale cookie stays where they are. They never learn. They're always let others do it. You know, the fresh cookie, what do? They get out in the field. They learn from their people. They show empathy. They try to continue to develop their skills and knowledge base. And let's face it, this industry is changing fast every day, and even more so now. So don't get complacent. You know, stay fresh. Don't be stale. And now is really the time to push yourself even more and become even more valuable. I'll tell you, I'm out there doing COVID transports. You know, I put on an N95 mask. We have a specialized van. And if someone on campus tests positive or suspected, you know, I drive them over to the isolation or quarantine facility. You know, I make sure everybody knows that, including everybody on this call, you know, because I want to be more valuable than I appear. But it's the reality of the situation. Everything and anything right now. And just, again, I can't wait for the day that our university has more students and more cars than we can count. So the day will come. It may not come this year. It's definitely not coming this year. It may not even come next year, but it will come back and we will get there. So a lot to look forward to. When we come out of this, yeah, Kevin, I'll meet you for that Bruce Springsteen concert at
We may change. We'll have a few people to see in concert, that's for sure. So Jason, looking forward to chaos in a nutshell. He wants his chaos back so he feels normal. Totally get that. Chris, let me go to you. Positives going forward. What do you look forward to? Nothing's getting in your way. I know that.
Well, you know, we're really, and I don't know if this is in a future segment or not, but we're really looking forward at a multitude of different projects. So we're currently installing 30 additional EV charge station spaces, and that came. So that's something that we're buttoning up. We recently repaved and installed access and revenue control equipment at 2 of our downtown parking facilities. So likewise, that'll be buttoned up in a couple of weeks. We've been looking at, you know, our capital planning forward for 3 to 5 years out, and how the, you know, revenue loss and kind of, as another panelist mentioned, planning for just about all contingencies is something we're engaged in right now. Also, we in March, we were designated as an accredited parking organization. Unfortunately, we weren't able to really blast out and give ourselves kudos publicly because COVID kind of took over the headlines for the last 7 months. But we are taking the opportunity moving forward to approach the APO with distinction, which is several other higher level criteria. So our team is working on that. And so I guess the point of all this is We've got other projects in the pipelines, initiatives. We're doing a ton of benchmarking against other campuses. We have a bus contract that turns in May of 2022. So we're looking at the future of mobility here at UB and what that entails. How do electric assist bikes and e-scooters, how does that play a role, if at all, in our campus community? What's the future of bike share and car share, given the uncertainty of the pandemic? Things like carpooling. People are being discouraged from carpooling, or they're encouraged to not talk to each other if they're in a carpool together. So, how does the how does the pandemic and coming out on the other side impact all of those things? Are kind of some things on our short-term radar. Again, I'll echo what Jason just mentioned: learning, growth, and not staying in one place, pivoting and moving on. It's kind of, I think, some positive projects that have come out of the last few months and the few months forward.
Thank you, Chris. Let me go over to Doug, University of Rochester. And if you could mention, because I know you're involved with some technology, maybe this has no bearing at all, but when I think of 2021, it's off the topic of parking, but it's not. 5G and the coming incredible rollout of 5G and how 5G technology could bring on the self-driving car that we've all talked about at IPMI for hours and hours and hours. The reality is that could happen with 5G. But I want to hear maybe technology-wise what you guys might be looking forward to for 2021, Doug.
So it's definitely a change that I'm most excited about. Thinking outside the box and what can we change, get away from the complacency of we have access to revenue equipment that works, we've been using it forever, but what else is out there that we can use? Contactless everything, from taking a ticket to enter a parking facility to payment. We're definitely looking at that. Customers coming to the hospital obviously are a little more skeptical than going out to eat. They're a little more afraid about infections, stuff like that, because you're at the hospital. So we want to make it as comfortable as possible, touchless as possible. So we're definitely looking forward to that. 5G, I have been definitely excited about, more as a backup to a redundancy to our parking equipment. Everything is on fiber, everything's networked for us. But if we do have an issue, then we're offline. But if we can utilize that new upcoming fast cellular technology to have some redundancy so we don't have those issues, that's definitely something that I'm excited about, yeah.
Good, fantastic. And Chrissy, last of our panelists, positives going forward. We're as good as 2021, so let's talk about your 2021 year. What do you look forward to, positives?
Well, one of the big positives was we had a major construction project at our parking lot that we were able to complete well ahead of schedule without disruption to our customers. We knocked down, anybody that's from a municipality might understand that we have limited space sometimes in which to work. And our Department of Public Works building, ironically, was in the middle of our commuter parking lot. So we knocked down the building and created an additional 200 parking spaces. We restriped the whole lot, paved half the lot, new signage. So our lot's looking pretty for when everybody's ready to come back. In addition, the main thoroughfare that goes into our parking lot, which is right off of the highway, that project is now 4 months ahead of schedule because of the less traffic. We're having bike lanes and scooter lanes on either side of the road to give our customers another option to get to our parking lot and utilize our lot. We installed some EV charging stations down there. So we've been able to do all this without really putting anybody out of their way or complaining that they're late and missed their train. And when they come back, they're quite impressed. I'm getting a lot of happy phone calls.
Very good. Sounds like everybody's real focused, and that's good. We have a few more questions.
And we think about alternative uses for the future too, whether it's a drive-in movie theater night. We're thinking outside the box a little.
Can you talk to us slightly about, you touched upon it earlier, but you know, how people are coming up from New York City and using your lots, like, you know, because obviously a lot of things we can do right now is the great outdoors.
Yes.
You had mentioned something in a prior meeting about like a canoe launch, or they're utilizing the Hudson River. Can you talk about that just briefly? That, again, another one of those positives that came out of this.
Yes. So I talked about it a little bit earlier. We have access to the Hudson River by our parking lot. So we have kayakers and canoe people that are coming from all over and utilizing our lot. In addition, we also have like an annual event. It's called the Jack-o'-lantern Blaze. It's a big Halloween themed that people come from I've seen Ohio, Pennsylvania. And so we're doing a little bit of shuttles from our train station when that parking lot fills up. So we are really trying to think. We were so rigid before with our rules and regulations, and now I'm finding that we are much more open to thinking of other ideas and other uses for our lot and how the public can enjoy it. We have people coming and setting up picnicking. They're like tailgating without a game. But it's a great outside space for them to utilize. Their kids are riding their bicycles, little children are riding their motorized cars, people are fishing, and as long as they're paying for their parking spaces, we let them be. So we're adapting as the world is changing.
Sure are. We have a question I'd like to get it out there. What type of communication practices are some of the panelists utilizing to share with staff, students, changes and challenges of parking, that type of thing? Is anybody doing something they normally wouldn't do? Newsletters, electronic newsletters, new signs, social media. I know I use social media a lot, and anything that changes in our parking policies does go up on social media. Not always really brilliant comments. Some are negative, but we deal with it. We deal with it perfectly. Anybody else on new communication techniques for new policies? Just raise your hand if you want to talk. Anything new?
I could jump in on that one.
Sure.
Within our bus fleet, we have altered some of our message boards that talk about wearing a mask, right? So instead of it saying Route 1 Western Avenue, it now says like Route 1 wear a mask, or the subtle messaging that kind of gets it out there. I think right now there's signs everywhere that tell you what to do or what not to do, where to stand or where not to stand, so trying to have a little bit more subtler messaging campaign has gone a long way. And we've also worked with our communication folks here on campus to recognize our essential workers, and that really makes them feel good. We've taken pictures of bus drivers. We've taken pictures of our parking attendants, putting them out there in a publication or social media. We actually, over the summer, we helped the local area do in a Meals on Wheels. Like we altered our services, right? As Chrissy kind of said, finding other ways. So we took our buses and we weren't transporting passengers. So you know what? We delivered food to seniors in need. And that went really well throughout the community. So, you have the options, right? We have fleets, we have space, and from a university standpoint, we talk a lot about town and gown, but that doesn't always come to fruition. So here was an opportunity for us again, tailgate in the parking lot with no game, deliver some food to seniors in need, recognize your staff and publications on social media. No one on this call here is issuing a parking citation or even likely driving the bus, but they make us look good every single day, and they're here more than we want to know. They are the front lines of the pandemic. We've all heard about mass transit drivers, the challenges they're faced with. Recognize them. I even gave them some gift cards. Not a lot, but just I wrote a personal note. Here's what we're doing. So yeah, not only communicating, but showing your appreciation and doing other things where, let me tell you, having a bus driver see themselves in a publication. I took that publication out, I laminated it, it's hanging up in the break room. So it goes a long ways when you do things like that.
So in a nutshell, Jason, what we're talking about is taking what is bad news, right? We have the overall pandemic bad news, and just keep counteracting that with little bits of good news. I think it's a great point. Fighting negativity with positivity. I want to give an answer from Amy Ross from Cornell University, and I thought this was perfectly what I was looking for in terms of communication. She writes, "We have partnered with the university's communication shop to push information to the community. We have dedicated space on the university's COVID-19 website and publish articles and announcements in the weekly newsletter that goes to all faculty and staff." So completely being proactive on communication. To warn the community that we were reestablishing compliance efforts, we did almost a month of flyers instead of citations. And that's Amy from Cornell University. Thank you for that communication, Amy.
You know, Kevin, if I could jump in on that,
Yep.
echo Jason's remarks about identifying and appreciating those essential workers. So at the hospital, obviously, medical personnel, doctors and nurses, they're here every day dealing with those patients in need. But the essential workers that deserve to get identified, we definitely did that as well. The transportation and parking staff, the ground staff, environmental services, they come to work every day just like the doctors and nurses do at the hospital. They're not as appreciated as they should be. So we definitely made the effort to make sure that they are appreciated like they should be. They're just as important as everyone that's working inside the building.
Very good. Any more Q&A questions and answers, Dawn?
Yeah, John, I just had a comment that in reference to the positives, great opportunity to work on improving the perception of our department. Serving as the campus welcome center, we are the visitor check-in, whereas we collect symptom check forms and distribute PPE to students and employees.
Thank you, Jonna. Thank you for your comments. Mr. President, we have completed our mission so far today.
Well, I would like to thank everybody, you know, on the call here today. And, you know, we did have a question queued up for our past president. I would be remiss if I didn't ask it, but, you know, his Buffalo Bills are doing very well out there last night, excluding, but
They didn't show up. Yeah.
they didn't show up. So, but you know, it's things like that when a football team can raise the spirits of a community. You know, these events or whatever we're doing. I think, you know, it's you know, what is it? Act locally, think globally, or think locally, act global. Whatever that I can't get it off the top of my head. But you know what? The decisions we make in each of our areas do impact all. And by having a call and a session that talks about the things we've done, the transitions that we've made, you know, again, focus on the positive. It's very easy to get bogged down in the negativity right now. And not to get too deep, but whether that be politics or the environment or COVID or whatever, you know what? You know, focus on what you need to do and feel good about what you're doing and the changes that can be made. You know, if we all do that a little bit, you know, it just makes a world of difference. Again, you know, I can't tell you by delivering those meals to the seniors how you know, it's like it's tear jerking. It really is, you know. But we can all do that, and we can make a change, and we can take our processes and procedures and adapt, and that's what we're going to do. So, again, on behalf of the New York State Parking Association, we very much look forward to 2021. If anybody has any ideas or suggestions, please send them our way. You know, part of our engagement is, you know, the webinars as such, and certainly. Cindy Campbell from IPMI is going to give also a presentation tomorrow. So, you know, feel free to jump on that. I would also like to make just a quick announcement that today does end our board of director election cycle. So if you haven't voted and if you are a voting member of the association, please do so. It's very important that we get the votes in and you know, so we can elect our next members for a 2-year cycle. I know 3 people here on this call are running for the board. So it's just, again, it's very important to kind of do our due diligence and make sure that we're keeping this association moving. But I'm very proud of everybody on this call. I'm very proud of our members and all that we've done to help our communities, our families, our friends. Yeah, stay positive, man. You know, don't get bogged down. Let's look forward to the holidays, spending some time with family and friends, and kick some ass in 2021.
I also want to end by saying this doesn't end here. Let's follow the conversation. And there's some comments coming in as I speak, which will be put on our Facebook page and our Twitter account. So please, attendees, follow us if you haven't already at our Facebook page, our Twitter account. We'll put all additional comments up there both today and tomorrow. We look forward to 1 p.m. Cindy Campbell from IPMI tomorrow. Again, thank you, panelists. Really great session. And thank you, attendees. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.